Welcome to the Season 7, Episode 2 review by BingeGurus. With me today is a regular contributor, the Bullet Lord of Awesome Movies for Awesome People, Shep. How you doing?
Doing great, Rick. Thanks for doing this video today.
All right. So last episode, we got to see Carol and Morgan introduce us to what the kingdom looks like. They walk, Carol's in a wheelchair. They're walking around, and so what's the deal here? What's going on with the kingdom? How would you describe the differences between what we've seen so far with, places like Alexandria, that weird place where they ate people? What was that thing with the railroads where they ate people? And what's going on in the kingdom?
So, the kingdom is basically pure fantasy land, right? She shows up and it's just ridiculous. You got a guy who's community theater walking her through his intro as king of this land, and everybody seems overly happy, and it's very idyllic. It's more idyllic than probably any other place we've seen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the people
and so,
there are totally they're like worse than the people in Alexandria.
It's possible. We don't even know. Some of it we learn later might be just the overly positive attitude of Ezekiel, but the reality is that they are living in just happy land, and Carol senses that, and she's just she calls bullshit.
All right, so we get to meet King Ezekiel, and the real thing. It looks kind of is it a cult? Is he a nice guy? All that stuff will probably play out, but what the real shocking revelation is that there has been contact between the kingdom and the saviors. So what's the deal? There was only a couple of pigs. It doesn't seem like a standard deal. What do we, what could possibly be going on here? What was the backstory? Are we going to find any of that out? Between
you made some good points previously. You made some good points, and I say that ultimately it's interesting because I was sort of hoping that they hadn't encountered each other already, but they obviously had. Negan has made them forcibly strike a deal, and it's a unique one where they basically show up week to week with unique items and unique whatever. And Ezekiel, he's there to show up and play the piece, and he's willing to play Negan's game. So there's something interesting going on there. You had a good theory that you and I chatted about before. So what do you think might be going on?
Well, I don't know if there's possibly some sort of deeper connection between Ezekiel and Negan. Maybe there's like a past, like maybe he used to be part of the Saviors, or maybe he helped found the Saviors with, Negan. Is there some kind of really deep background, and he's now being like this holy roller, this reformed guy who's like, I'm a sinner, now I'm trying to make up for all the terrible crap I did in my life and how many people he killed with his tiger, and who knows? There's some crazy backgrounds and flashback stuff. But I'm hoping anyway that there's some sort of connection. But what I do know is that I talked about this last week when we in the first episode, that there was this difference, this thing where it's like, is the show really going to be about just this political drama, or is it going to be about the zombies and how do we survive and move forward? And I think this episode kind of restored more of that original balance, that original premise. The kingdom is definitely looking for a way forward. At the very least, the motivation of Ezekiel seems to be, how do we do this in the best possible way? It's he's a con man to a certain extent, but is he any different than but almost as like he's a cult leader? What's going on? But at least it seems like that's what they're after. They're after that. How do we go forward together? Not like, how do I have my fetishes, my weird cruelty fetishes satisfied. Like Negan has definitely got some kind of weird program going on, which kind of takes us into the next episode. So in the next episode, we've seen these preview videos of, it looks like we've got Daryl is in like a weird kind of version of the Savior's prison outfit, and it looks like they're trying to turn him into a Savior by breaking him, doing some kind of Savior basic training. So Shep, what do you know about where they're at in this? They show some of these clips.
So, it's such a great contrast because we've got Ezekiel's kingdom, which is really idyllic, and you've got kids going to school and they're farming, and it's a very pleasant thing. And Ezekiel is satisfying Negan's, need for his production, but he's not even letting those people see it. He's letting them be in that ideal because he's meeting in a neutral location. He's giving the pigs. He's going to give the produce this coming week. And then you get this contrast with what we see in the preview with the quote sanctuary, which is the Savior's holdup, which is supposed to be this sort of dark factory land surrounded by barbed wire fence, and they even have impaled walkers guarding the outside as sort of a warning. So we're going to see this two just gigantically different styles of leadership, one which is total tyrannical, nightmare, and the other seems to be a very benign, very pleasant guy. And we find that Ezekiel really opens up to Carol at the end, and he seems like he's an extremely well-meaning individual. And his backstory sort of, it sort of confirms that. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
I'll stop you right there. Anytime anybody seems to be a very well-meaning individual, I automatically 100% distrust them, whether it's in real life or on TV, especially on a show like this. Automatically, there's like when they're like, "Oh, this guy is like really opens up." I'm like, "This guy is such a bad guy and such a wolf in sheep's clothing with the tiger and everything." I don't know. So I don't know what to say, but it's like I'm kind of on tenterhooks waiting for the shoe to drop, because this is like the governor started off kind of like this too, where it's just like, oh, he's a nice guy. Look, everyone loves him. And oh, now we've got gladiator zombie fights. And that was like only the tip of the iceberg. So we'll see how this goes.
Well, so
go ahead.
What's your final thought? What do you think is going to happen? What are we going to see with Daryl this week?
Well, I think for sure we're probably going to see a little bit of kind of like this, basic training, kind of like how do we break the guys, we'll see how the savior is made, for lack of a better word. How do we break somebody down, build them back up? And these guys seem to really kind of adopted a lot of, Negan-isms. They've got the pictures, they take the pictures of him bashing in the heads, and they seem to be getting off on it. We found, I think it was Glenn found that in one of like a gas station in one of those towns when he fell off the dumpster. There's all these little Easter eggs that Negan's coming, and I didn't read the comic books, but now that I saw that happen, I'm like, oh, I'm remembering all these Negan clues that he was coming and he was going to be, and then we, all these things with the saviors, and then they had the baseball bat on the guns, with the barbed wire. All that stuff was clear foreshadowing if you were a comic book fan, which I was not. This is one of probably the only comic book show I don't have any idea what's going to happen or who some of these characters are. I mean, that's, pretty crazy. But I'm thinking we're going to see, Daryl's not resisting. I think we'll probably get back to Alexandria a little bit too. I'd be very shocked if we didn't get a shot of Rick kind of like with tail between his legs returning to Alexandria. And I don't know after that. So like the show's, I wasn't expecting 100% in the kingdom. They kind of head faked that we were going back to Alexandria right away. In that preview, they showed the bat, Negan's bat and on Rick's desk in Alexandria in the promo. And they showed him knocking on the door saying, "Open up, let me in." And it's like, what is that? Like season, episode 9? But they're showing that, like teasing it in episode, for episode 2, and we didn't see Negan at all. So we saw some of the saviors, but we didn't see him, for one frame. But anyways, so looking forward to this week. We'll try to get this up in time. And thank you, Shep. If you like Shep's stylings and intrigue, and his wall art that you can see behind him anyway. Even I told him to give him a blank slate. We did this video. Check him out on Awesome Movies for Awesome People on Facebook. For Binge Guru, for Shep. This is Rick for Binge Gurus. We'll see you next week. If you like the video, don't forget to click subscribe. And one day I'll actually put a subscribe button on my videos, and then you can actually do that. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks.